Hello, friends, and welcome to part two of our What is a Vinyasa tutorial. We covered what the word vinyasa means in part one and the three poses that make up a vinyasa. So if you missed part one, check it out as a primer to where we're going to go next. Have a block and maybe a blanket handy if you could use that cush for your knees. And we're going to start with plank and making our way into cobra and chaturanga. And we're going to detail how can we embody that idea of flow, of ease, of unforced rhythms, and let go of struggle and strain within this series of poses. Now, there's a lot of variation that we could find, that we could experience throughout this three-part series of poses, right? And you'll find all those variations on this platform. But for this tutorial, we'll stick with the more traditional two, which is the variation with a kneeling plank and cobra, and also plank on our feet and moving into chaturanga. So I'll demo a vinyasa from a kneeling plank position going all the way to my belly and into cobra. Then we'll start getting into a little bit more of that challenge with a full body plank. So finding this kneeling plank here, we're going to press into the fingerprints, bring the mounds of the fingers, pull those hands towards the knees. So I feel this nice engagement and integration through my center. Now, pressing and pulling so the shoulders are nice and engaged. And then we're going to lower all the way down. Now, my cue I love is let the elbows do what they're going to do. We're going to talk about that in a little bit here. But from here, cobra pose, we're finding that nice anchoring through the pubic bone, tops of the feet heavy, and then on your exhale, peeling that chest off. And coming back down. Then from there, pressing back into tabletop and then making our way back to downward dog. So that's that first vinyasa. Now, from a plank position, finding that kind of engagement through the shoulders, hugging feet towards hands, hands towards feet, letting those elbows do what they want to do, going about halfway for that chaturanga. Now, up dog, that sternum shines forward, tailbones tucking towards the heels. And then from here, making your way back into downward dog. So those are those two variations, right? Now, how do you decide between kneeling plank or a full plank on your toes, right? It goes back to letting go of struggle and strain, right? It's based on your body, where you are in your practice, your level of strength, and being attuned to your body and what it needs today, right? It's this continued learning and self discovery of how to best challenge your edges, but at the same time, love on yourself with compassion and grace. Now, in part one, we talked about one of the core reasons we come to our mat, right? And that is to find stability, integration in our bodies, and this intentionality in our movements along with our breath. Now, this series of movements is challenging, and especially if it's done multiple times in one class. And if you are doing multiple vinyasas, it's even more important to do them with integrity. So, how does it feel in your body if you're struggling and straining to keep that integrity? Right? So, very often it's a losing of those main points of stability through your center. The ribs will flare, the tailbone will lift, the head will drop. Right? So, coming back into just a tabletop, my ribs will kind of let go there, tailbone lifts. This is common, right? The head will kind of collapse down towards the mat. We want to instead find that beautiful integration through the spine, crown to tail. Okay. So that's one way to kind of clue you in on what is your best variation. Ideally, we're maintaining that stability, right? That integration through the spine so that we can call on that global engagement throughout the body, building capacity and strength, right? So when I lower my knees, I'm lightening the load. When I'm on my feet, the load is higher, right? I'm working with more of my body weight and I'm asking much more out of my shoulders and my core. Now, the other sign to look for that gives you clues as to how to choose which variation over the other is tuning into your neck, your jaw, and your face. So when we're struggling and straining, right, very often these areas grip and get more tense. One reason grippiness can happen is the cue of hugging the elbows in towards the ribs, right? Which you may have heard in some yoga classes along the way. Now, the reason this cue doesn't work for everyone is because that push up variation takes a tremendous amount of tricep strength. And if I don't have that capacity yet to manage my body weight in that way, using this as that primary muscle, I often will begin to compensate in other ways, like accessory muscles around the neck or allowing the shoulders to roll forward, right? Now, rolling your shoulders forward is not necessarily bad in and of itself. It's when we're unable to find that integration and stability through the shoulders and we repeat that rolling or that gripping movement over and over again that can lead to discomfort and irritation. Right? So ideally, we want to stick with the variation that will allow us to stay in that easeful flow, that unforced rhythms of movement and grace. So let's embody these ideas. And I invite you to do this with me. Okay. So grab your block and place it between your thighs here. I want you to give that block a nice gentle hug. Find your tabletop here and then make your way into a kneeling plank position. So I'd like you to feel this full body integration here. So you're hugging that block so that lower body starts to light up. The mounds of the fingers get heavy, the fingerprints get heavy. Now, I'm pushing into the mat. I'm pulling those hands towards my knees. I have this beautiful integration, this zippiness through my center, right? Ribs are naturally lifting up in towards my body here. And then I'm going to slowly lower, I'm going to control this whole range of motion down onto my belly. Now, if you'd like, play with that again, or we're going to take that into plank position. So keeping that block there, give it a little hug. Find all those nice engagements through the fingerprints, through the mounds, press and pull. Now keep that. Own the whole range and all the way down. Okay. Now, one thing I'd like to talk about here is very often we fall, right? We're finding this plank position and we whoosh, falling to the floor. Think of it as instead pulling yourself down slow enough so that you know that you own that whole range of motion, right? And then instead of hugging those elbows in towards the ribs, I invite you to notice what it feels like to allow those elbows to do what they want to do, to engage all of that other supportive musculature to allow you to own the movement, feel that stability and that strength. Okay. So let's play with this together, and you decide if you'd like to be on your knees or in that full body plank. We're going to lower all the way down to the floor and really embody this integration as we go through that transition. So either way, doesn't matter. Find those fingerprints, the mounds of the fingers, press and pull. Ribs are nice and knitted in. Then from here, allow the elbows to do what they're going to do. Give that nice engagement of that lower body and come on down. Own that whole range of motion. And then from here, you guys, we're going to play with Cobra and our up dog in our next installment. Okay, you guys, so this mindful way of engaging with your vinyasa is hard work, right? My biomechanics mentor, Jules Mitchell, always says if you can do 10 good old fashioned push ups, you're ready for chaturanga, right? That's that yogi push up that we just worked on a little bit here. But this is essentially what we're doing, right? That slow, controlled, engaged push up. So, there's your tutorial for transitioning from plank to cobra or chaturanga, that yogi push-up. Now, in the third installment, we will take a deep dive into cobra and up dog. See you there.